give me a kiss to build a dream on.
Fallout 2 has loads of sex in it, loads of the stuff. Everyone's at it. In fact, the very first town you visit after venturing outside of your character's village has you entering a bathhouse in search of information, where you're immediately offered such services as the washcloth hand wipe, the full body wash, and if you really want to push the boat out, the round the world full squeaky clean servicing. Real subtle, isn't it? Sex ends up being a surprisingly significant part of the game, with players able to select a sex appeal trait when creating a character and eventually complete a questline in which they audition to become a porn star. And I say surprisingly here because this was, you need to remember, 1998. Games had dabbled with sex before then, sure, but there weren't many examples that included franchises as successful or as well loved as Fallout. Now let's not get carried away here. The "How's your father" itself was only ever represented with a fade to black at the end of a conversation, but behind the scenes, there was something more going on. Introducing the Fallout sex formula. Oh, there's so much to like about this thing. So very much. If you pop in the right variables, it'll determine exactly how skilled your character is when it comes to doing the horizontal tango, as in it will give you an actual number that says objectively your character is this good. The porn star questline we mentioned earlier, for example, requires that number to pass a certain threshold, or you just won't get the job. But the thing about sex, right? Oh, this job's so weird sometimes. The thing about sex is that all sorts of people are into all sorts of different things, and not everyone is going to agree on how you measure a character's skill in that department. This is where the story gets even better. Let's take another look at the formula. So what it's essentially doing here is ranking the importance of your character's various stats when it comes to a bit of hanky-panky, and that process, deciding whether agility matters more than endurance and so on, inevitably that led to a debate within the team making this game at Black Isle Studios. Specifically, it led to a number of conversations between the two developers credited with being the formula's creators, Chris Avellone and Tom French. Quick side note here, I think one of my favourite things about this entire story is that these two guys go on to be such big names within the games industry. Chris Avellone has designed incredible RPG after incredible RPG, while Tom French is now a design director at 343 Industries working on the Halo franchise. And yet, at some point in their careers, these talented men sat down together and figured out how to best calculate sexual performance. What an excellent, excellent thought that is. It turns out originally the formula only factored in a character's endurance, and this remained the case up until the team started working properly on New Reno, also known as Fallout's Sexy Sex City of Sex, and at this stage, French realised they probably needed something more substantial. It was actually French that argued the case for charisma being the most important attribute in this formula, because as he puts it, he dated a girl back then despite the fact she seemed to quite fancy another better looking guy. Don't underestimate charisma, he says. Anyway, once you've slotted in all of your character's stats, divided them by 100 and then added any modifiers that come from traits like sex appeal, you can find out exactly how good Fallout 2 thinks your wasteland hero is when it comes to rolling in the hay. If you can make that number reach 9 or higher, you're rewarded with the Gigolo Reputation title, a decision that today Avellone considers a design flaw. Although they all found it pretty funny back in '98, he argues that, actually, reputations like Gigolo should probably be avoided in open-ended role-playing games such as this because they impart a judgment on the player's character that the player themselves may not agree with. A comparable example, he said, could be found if a character was given a reputation for manipulating conversation, whereas cunning or trickster may still give the player room to roleplay the character they envision. Calling them a liar, instead, feels restrictive. Gigolo has the same problem, he thinks. It was just a word that made the team giggle. Which, by the sounds of it, was the thought process behind so many design decisions in Fallout 2. The game in which you can destroy a toilet in the town of Modoc and cover the surrounding area in feces. This was a team that liked its poop jokes. Tom French, in fact, once crashed an early version of Fallout 2 because he wrote code that meant the Brahmin could now defecate, but without first setting any kind of limit on exactly how much they could do that. Working at Black Isle Studios during this time period was like being part of a fraternity, I'm told. It's a group of friends, mostly guys, just telling each other crappy jokes in between moments of real creativity and expression. This wasn't perfect. In fact, it led to quite a lot of content needing to be cut, particularly in the Sexy Sex City of Sex, New Reno, because it was too offensive, too jarring, too childish. But this ecosystem and this sense of freedom would allow them to create such a unique kind of game. Fallout 2 is a game about surviving the post-apocalyptic wasteland, but it's also got its own sex formula. And I still don't really know why, but I think it's brilliant. Hope you do as well. Otherwise, this video is going to be weird, because I've said sex a lot. Good. Oh, it's a bit sweaty. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Here's a Thing. I think that might be the first time I've referenced the show's title in the show, because I actually know what the title is now, which is useful. If you enjoyed this episode, please do give us a like in the thing below if you're on YouTube. And if you want to watch one of the other ones that we've done, here are the last couple. We've got a story about Nintendo perhaps downloading a Mario ROM off the internet and selling it back to us. That's interesting. Or if you're a Civilization fan, or just a fan of game design in general, here's a cool thing about why Sid Meier no longer designs Sid Meier's Civilization. Alright, cool. If you've seen both of those and this one, then good. I like you quite a lot. And I'll be back next Thursday with another Here's a Thing. See you then.